This episode, we're unfortunately covering the Lightning Thief movie from 2010, so we brought in our good friend Rabbits to share in the suffering. When the episode was first released on Anchor, Rabbits hadn't launched their podcast yet, but now they have. You can find all the episodes right here on YouTube on the Undead Rabbits channel, and follow their show at Undead Rabbits YT. Give them a follow and enjoy the episode. Hi, welcome back to Unwise Girls, the premier podcast about bringing Percy Jackson et al. To bimbos by bimbos. I'm your host Jane, and this is your co-host Jacqueline.
I'm Jacqueline. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's big episode.
We also have another special friend here today to talk about the special thing that we have.
Oh, that's me. That's my intro. Oh, hello.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Undead Rabbits from Undead Rabbits _ YT on Twitter and Undead Rabbits on YouTube. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
This is the funny rabbit that we've brought onto the podcast.
Hi, it's me. I'm also British. Sorry.
It's okay.
We're
We forgive you
multiplying.
this time.
I will be making horror content on YouTube, but, that production pipeline, it's a bitch.
So everyone, we finished the book,
We finished the book and it was good.
and it was good. So now we're gonna watch the movie really fast, and I'll summarize it for you, and it'll also be good, right?
I'm so excited.
Yeah,
My hopes are so high.
I'm
Okay.
feeling very dope right now.
Okay, and we're back. We just watched the movie. Hello,
Fucking hell,
everyone.
mates. That was intense.
Okay, before we talk about it, let me do a little bit of summarizing for all our listeners.
Because hopefully you didn't actually pause and go and watch this travesty.
Please, no. So, I didn't take notes today because this is a casual movie episode. So, I'm just going to go off the cuff.
Okay.
Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, is a movie where we follow Percy Jackson, a 17-year-old boy, and his best friend Grover, whose main characteristic is being a black stereotype, and he's also a goat, and Annabeth, who is sexy and sassy. Um, and as they go on a road trip, but it's not really a road trip movie, to collect Persephone's pearls, which are 3 items that will get them out of the underworld, because they're also going to the underworld to get to prove that they're not the lightning thief. Along the way, they encounter a Medusa. They encounter a Hydra at the Parthenon. They encounter an evil casino, and they get to the underworld. They all meet Hades, who is weird, and Persephone, who is weirder, and there's this big, like, oh, we only have 3 pearls, so who are we gonna save? And Grover's like, don't worry, guys, I'll stay behind and have sex with Persephone. And so they leave and they battle this guy who showed up. I think his name was Luke. He's like a gamer or something. And they fight him and he loses really quickly. And they go to Olympus and Poseidon is big and everyone is happy. And in the end, I think they kiss. I don't know anymore.
No, it looks like they're going to, but then they fake out and they're actually having a sexy fight.
It ends with a sexy fight.
Well, it doesn't end with a sexy fight, does it? Have you guys forgotten the post-credit scene? Because this was 2010, and every film needed a post-credit scene.
There was also a post-credit scene. That's the sound that Jane makes when she watches a terrible, terrible movie.
I made it several times throughout.
Okay, everyone, what did you think?
I know a lot of this episode, especially for like Jacqueline and I, who've been like recently reading the book. And I know that Rabbits has been like listening along to the podcast, but I feel like a lot of this is going to be us looking at the book and saying, this was better in the book than it was in the movie.
maybe we should do this because maybe we should do this in like a compliment sandwich format.
Okay.
Let's start with what we
Sure.
liked about this.
I do actually have a couple of things that I liked in the movie.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just tell us one thing that you really liked.
One thing that I really like is when they go to fight Medusa. Well, when they go to Auntie M's Garden Emporium, Luke doesn't tell them that Medusa is the one who's there. And that's like, that whole plot point has changed from the book, but they've still worked in some foreshadowing that Luke is the bad guy. And I think that was a good one. You did a good one there, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rabbits, do you have one thing you liked about the movie?
My premier compliment is also about Auntie M's Garden Emporium, in that they didn't make Medusa ambiguously Middle Eastern and using some kind of hijab, niqab to cover up her snakes.
Fuck Christ, yeah.
I one good thing that I liked was okay. I liked I thought that
I can just hear Jacqueline's brain fizzling over the call at the moment, trying to think of a compliment.
I liked that uh
Listen, the
it
show isn't called
was
Unwise Girls for nothing.
I liked I liked the idea that Hermes' cabin was like a respite from the rest of the camp and
Yes,
was like a cool gamer pad.
that's a genuine compliment for me, actually. That's something, not because it's a good change from the book, because the book was bad. That's a genuine good bit of visual storytelling, in my opinion.
Yeah, they walk into the Hermes cabin, which may as well just be Luke's room because nobody else is there.
Mm.
And it's like they're entering like a different world, which because like they in this movie, Camp Half Blood is like a big Canadian forest in, instead of like like a camp. Uh, but so it's a stark contrast, and I think that a stark contrast works in this kind of medium.
Because this change kind of works with Luke's motive change, because spoilers, not spoilers, you should have read the book and seen the film by now. Go and do that if you haven't. Or at least listen to the recaps. They put a lot of effort into it.
Thank you.
These women need to eat. Fund them, please. But yes, in the books, this is from your recaps now, he's actively working for Kronos, I believe. Is that right?
He
Yes.
is like actively trying to destroy the
Yeah.
modern world.
Where in the film, one, Kronos is only mentioned at like the very beginning when they're introducing the big three in the museum. And then when we get to Luke at the end, and Percy's like, "Why'd you do it, mate? Why'd you betray all your friends?" Luke's like, not because he's waiting for Kronos, he's just really fucked off because his dad left him. And like that works because one, it's like a good mirror of Percy, and two, it's not setting up a wider universe, which this film series wouldn't get because this film was shit, and I presume the second one's also shit. So it's making it more self-contained, making the narrative more cohesive, not just more lore-heavy. And again, it makes him a good mirror to Percy. So yeah, that's one of the few changes that I think is actually in the benefit of the film, and not just because
Okay,
it's less racist this way.
okay, but I would like to counter your assertion that it makes Luke a good mirror of Percy. Because
Yeah,
for him to be
go
like
ahead.
a dark reflection of Percy, there would have to be like some fundamental character trait that separates them and makes it so that Percy responds differently to his circumstances than Luke does. And the problem is that nobody in this movie has a character. They just say one-liners.
Absolutely not. Yeah,
Yeah,
I basically agree with your point, Rabbits, but like I do think that what there could have been, because I also agree that like I think it's good that they weren't setting up like Kronos or whatever. I don't think Kronos needs to be in this movie,
Mhm.
but I think the problem is that Luke could have been like a really interesting foil for Percy, like he kind of is in the book. Um, kind of, but the problem is just like what Jane said. There isn't a character to any of these people. Like, okay, I kind of tried to go over it in the summary, but here's the characters of our main three characters. Percy Jackson is a senior in high school who like has trouble in school, maybe because he has dyslexia. He likes to be in water. He likes to swim, and that's it. He will stand up for his mom when his mom is like kind of when his mom is being like abused in front of him. And then we've got Annabeth. Annabeth is she is a she's a quippy, like sassy warrior who who is like knows lore, and Grover is like a horny uh except he doesn't have horns on his head, just he's like uh he's like regular horny, unfortunately, and he's like a hot shot. Like he's like yeah, like he's like a exuberant outroverted guy, and that's just all they are. They're like very like they're all like weird nothing pieces.
Do you think Grover grew his horns because he fucked Persephone?
Look,
Textually, no.
I feel like that's the implication, though.
I have notes across all. I was gonna say all three arcs. I realized my Act 3 notes were getting too big, so I split into Act 4 like a coward. But one of my notes is just Persephone is question mark because I cannot pin down what they are doing with Persephone. I'm frightened. That's all I know.
Jane, can you tell us a little bit about Persephone in this movie?
Persephone in this movie is trying to bang a 16-year-old, for one thing.
I think you just hate to see a girl boss winning.
Is she like a snake kind of betrayal person? Is she just an abused woman trying to get out of a horrible situation? Is she just someone who wants to cheat on her husband constantly? Who knows? We flip through all of these characterizations in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, Hades is a cuck, isn't he?
Yeah. Because the basic premise of the movie is that they're going to find Persephone's pearls, which will let them escape from the underworld once they get there. And the way that it's set up is like Persephone frequently uses these pearls to get men she invites in, or like just people she invites in out quickly. So
I like how you changed from men to people there.
I mean,
As
they
this film is anywhere near progressive enough to have anything besides heterosexual characters. Should we start with sort of the beginning of the film and then work our way down? Because I feel like we're sort of going in circles. There's a point at the very beginning of the film which I feel like you two are going to have comments about.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to describe the very opening of the film and stop me when you figure out what's wrong. So Zeus climbs out of the ocean. Not Zeus. Fucking hell. Let me try again.
What went wrong there is that you said Zeus instead of Poseidon.
Yeah, I noticed
what
that.
What went wrong there is that I'm a fool. So, let me try again. So, at the beginning of the film, Poseidon walks out the ocean, Fisherman sees him, and then uses water powers to shrink. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Did you pick it up, Jane? Where's the mist? Where is that mist? Someone's got the extractor fan on because there's no mist in here.
God.
Yeah, no, the first of all, I'm Jacqueline actually, but
fucking hell, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. But no, like people in this movie, mortals in this movie, just like see supernatural things. And it's always like played up for a joke, so I guess it doesn't really matter, but it's such a weird change.
Mm-hmm. A woman sees Medusa's severed head through a window being held by Grover by the snakes, and she just sort of screams and runs off. And we never hear any complications brought on by that. We don't hear like a news article later, just like, Percy Jackson, missing boy, has been spotted with a severed woman's head. What the fuck? We just sort of get news reports on storms. It's like, okay, cool.
it like simultaneously is and isn't played for humor because they're like it's like, oh, she funny screams and funny runs away, and it's like a funny image or whatever of like him holding the head because he's like, oh, I can't be, but then like it's also played weirdly straight because it's not like funny music is playing or like they're like
Yeah, that's
joking
when
about
that's
it.
when they decide they have to leave the motel. They have like Percy and Annabeth's little "our parents suck" bit, and then Grover's like, "Oh no, Medusa's gonna watch me piss," and then the cleaning lady, and then they're like, "We gotta get out of here," and then that's it. That's the whole scene, and it never comes up again.
And of course, we can't not touch on the pool scene.
Which one?
Which
There's
one?
two weird scenes where Percy is just in water,
He's
where the director
he's
has
vibing
forced
there, man.
Logan
Leave me.
Lerman to drown for the movie.
Yeah. The this is so there's just the movie starts first off with an extended scene of Percy like just like sitting in the water at a school swimming pool.
As
Um
the opening credits roll, so like for a solid couple of minutes, like Logan Lerman's just sitting there with this big grin on his face, sitting underwater, or swishing his hands about low key, just while all these names are coming up, and I'm just sitting there going, "Is he okay?
okay, here's what
Is
I
he
think
all right?"
happened. The top bosses at, whatever people produce this movie
20th Century
came to
Oh, we'll
Fox.
talk about the behind the scenes stuff. We'll talk about the director of this.
Chris Columbus, of course. Uh, but they came together. You know, Chris was there. The writers were there. Whatever, who cares? They were like, okay, how do we display that Percy is the child of Poseidon as like a hint, other than it being said in the opening and like implied by like filmic language. Um,
Uh,
and so one person on the team was like, well, maybe at one point we can do what the book does and like have him get pushed into a fountain, but then he like throws like uses the fountain water accidentally, like, and everybody's like, no, shut up, idiot, and they throw that person out,
It's just like
and
the
they
meme where the
say,
guy gets chucked out the window.
right, and thank you, and and then the top head honcho says, I don't know what a Poseidon is. And someone says, that's a water god. And he says, okay, have him in a pool.
I
And so they,
can
That sounds
sort of
right.
defend this decision because, like I said, it's weirdly long. But at the same time, you're meant to look at that and go, huh, he's underwater for a weirdly long time. I wonder if there's a reason for that. I wonder if he's the son of Poseidon. Like, I know we know it because we read the book and also because they say in the opening titles. But if you think how a producer would think, who thinks of his audience like a bunch of fucking chimps who do not know anything,
That's fair.
then I can understand why they decided to have that scene. But at the same time, it fucking
Okay,
sucks. Sorry.
here's my counter though. I am a chimp who knows nothing, and I thought it was bad. So they screwed up there.
So I briefly call attention to the director of the film, and I know throughout your recaps of the books, you've frequently likened the books to Harry Potter. They're trying to get on the Harry Potter craze, the young adults.
I feel like that's slightly harsher than what we said about them.
You at least alluded to Harry Potter having an influence on the decisions made in this book series.
Yeah.
No, singular, you've only done one book. And funnily enough, Christopher Columbus, or Chris Columbus, he is the director of the first two Harry Potter films.
uh-huh.
Is this a
Yeah.
coincidence?
No, absolutely
No.
Is
not.
it?
No. Of course it's not.
No.
Along with directing Home Alone 1, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, and at time of recording, still on track to direct the fucking Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Uh-huh.
They they got the guy who directed the first two Harry Potter films to direct their young adults, escapism, isekai shit.
Jacqueline,
Why is his
this...
production...
Sorry, I was just going to say, this is very much related to this point. Could you just relate to the audience what you said when we got our first look at Mount Olympus, and I thought, you know what, I've seen worse visual designs, and then you immediately ruined it for me.
Yeah, so you're like, this isn't actually so bad. I think Olympus might, this isn't, they didn't ruin it. And I was like, it's just Hogwarts. It's just Hogwarts
Oh
again.
It
no!
looks exactly
You're
like
right.
it.
It's got like the blue clouds and like the gold lighting. Oh no!
It's Greek Hogwarts. And okay,
But
speaking of just how things look, and this is a problem from the very start where they decide that like Poseidon's human form is just like a tech bro. Uh, the costuming decisions in this movie are terrible.
hmm
The everything looks so boring. The camp half-blood like campers, they're not wearing like, fun camp shirts or anything like that. They're wearing just like weird pseudo Greek battle armor.
yeah, they just look like larpers. Sorry, guys. They look like they went to Party City or wherever and just went, yeah, give me some of those. You still got stock from that 300 movie? Can we just have those, please? Yeah, thanks. Yeah, let's save our directing budget. Directing budget? Costuming budget for, I don't know,
No,
Rosario Dawson.
I know what they saved that budget for, and it's one of my favorite bits of the entire movie.
Tell
Where
us.
Oh?
where Chiron is in Poseidon cabin with Percy, and he's kind of explaining the plot to him, and he's saying, "Oh, someone's stolen Zeus's lightning," and the whole time he has his arms crossed in a like really unnatural way. They're like held really
Yeah.
tight against his body, and that's so that I realized this is because if he held his hands like a normal person would, they would get like in the way of his CGI horse body and disrupt the very good visual effects.
My one note about Chiron. Chiron? Karen?
Chiron,
I
I
know there's
think.
two characters who have very similar names.
It's Chiron.
Chiron is the horse boy, Charon is the boatman.
I have things to say about the boatman.
hmm
But yes, when Percy first sees Horseman, he's in like a stampede of centaurs, and then he comes up and he's like, "Hello, Percy," because he's like a horse and he neighs.
hmm
He doesn't do that in the film, does he?
Uh-huh.
He does in my version.
Grover
In
does
my
that,
in the Undead
Chiron
Rabbit
doesn't.
cut. He does. And Percy's like, you're a," in like, standard comedy thing. And then Chiron, Karen, BoJack Horseman, he goes, "Yes, I'm," and I quote, "a real horse's ass." Now,
Yeah.
Is that a saying?
they say that as if it was something Percy called him earlier or something. Like on the field trip, he's like, "Wow, Mr.
Brunner.
Horseman, you're a real horse's ass." Yeah, sorry. Like, if it was a callback to that, I'd at least understand it. But maybe it was in deleted scene, or maybe I just missed it. Because when he says it, he's like, "Yes, Percy, I'm a real horse's ass." I'm just like,
He doesn't even
okay.
he says like I have a real horse's ass. Like it's
I mean,
which why
good
would
for
you
you. Good for
yeah,
you.
why would you say that? Like, yeah, of course you do. You have a horse body. What are you talking about?
Stop
That
saying this to your
line,
students.
that line is only there for me. It is there to confirm that centaurs do in fact just have like normal ass horse anatomy beneath the waist, and that means he does just piss where he stands.
Pierce
Oh
box, Pierce
no.
box, Pierce box.
Okay.
It's a running joke, everybody. I'm in on it.
Yeah.
But hey,
You, you
at least the other counselors are around. At least they're interesting.
y- yeah,
Oh
we've
wait,
got we've got the camp leader, Luke.
Dionysus was great in this film. I can't remember any of his scenes though. Where was he?
I wonder. They just like kind of combined him and Chiron. But and the other Camp Half Blood members we meet are it's only Luke and Annabeth.
hmm
Those are the only two people we meet.
Have you forgotten Clarissa? I mean,
She
I
is
for
not in
one
this
am.
movie.
Did you not see her? Like, I really appreciate the way that they took away the fat phobic elements and sort of slimmed her down. They slimmed her down so much you couldn't see her. She wasn't there.
Oh, I
Not
see. I see what you're doing. You're doing a funny
I
I was
bit.
see.
doing a funny bit.
I will admit when I first saw Annabeth like fighting like in the woods or whatever, I was like, oh, they have Clarice here and she's thin. But
I thought the exact same thing. And the funny thing is, after that scene, when Percy hit the flag and then Annabeth jumps out, I thought, oh, it's Clarissa. Not
Same.
realizing that they're the same actress. I just have the worst face blindness on the planet.
I don't think that's entirely on you. I think that's on this movie for basically hiring people who look exactly the same. I think Jacqueline even pointed out everyone has the same eye color.
Looks the same. Looks the same as who? Clarissa wasn't in it.
Everybody in this movie has blue eyes, which
Do
I'm not
they?
like, yeah, I'm not like a stickler. There's even a point where like Medusa's like, Percy, you have such beautiful blue eyes like the sea. And it's
She
like,
does. She does say that.
what
Unfortunately.
a weird change. Like, okay.
Speaking of changes, I want to say that you two are prophets because when we see the boatman,
Uh-huh.
he has indeed been whitewashed.
They whitewash Charon, and he's not
They
sexy
did
anymore
it.
either.
A finger on the monkey's paw curls inwards as
Hey,
we
that
two.
implies that we wished for that.
They we they made Charon white and decrepit
He
instead
looks
of
like Death from Bill and Ted. That's what he
kind
looks
of, but he
like.
doesn't even look as cool. Like that's what I was thinking of too, but it's not a good design even.
It wouldn't have even added anything to the budget or changed the story that much, surely, to just make Charon like a cool dude who likes wearing nice suits and takes Percy's money so that he can buy more nice suits.
The way that this movie looks though, like the way that it's like just like visually produced, no like effect comes off from any scene of like whether it's at night, whether it's at day. It looks basically the same. Like it's not like it's dull and gray. They kind of try to make the colors pop, but like it's also like so bland and dull.
When they go into the Parthenon in Nebraska, and they're like, "Oh, we'll go back in when it's closed." I wrote in my notes they're going to sneak in at night. But then when they sneak back in, the lighting, and I know it's the interior of buildings, you wouldn't be able to tell. But in filmmaking, you tend to change the lights no matter where you are, so you can tell what time of day it is. When I was sitting there, like, is it at night, or is it just like have they closed for a bit? There's like cleaning staff here. What's going on? It's so indistinct. Trying to get a time frame on, just trying to establish a timeline for this movie is so confusing and
Okay, but you're absolutely right about the timeline thing, and it also like ruins one of the best moments from the book that they kept in more or less like verbatim, which is the twist that they were in the Lotus Casino for like a week. But because the movie's done such a poor job of keeping track of how much time is left to the deadline, it has no impact when we find out how much time they have left.
the casino is very odd. Let me lay out my little casino rant. So they go to the casino, and it's all very. When you were covering the casino part in the novels, you were saying how it's not inherently an evil place. I think you were saying this specifically, Jane. How it's like
Mm-hmm.
people go there and they sort of get swept up in the fun and they're like, woo. But like, it's not an inherently evil thing. It's just if you are there, it will fuck up your quests. But here, it's like actively malicious, I feel. They are pushing these lotuses onto you. And if
Absolutely.
you don't eat them, you'll get kicked out by security. What are the security going to do to them, actually? Are they going to kick them out? That's what they want.
Force feed them
Are they going
lotuses, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. They did not make it clear. And also, like you were saying, when they went to the casino in the books, like, the twist that's like vintage people there is very. It doesn't take that long, from the way you summarized it at least. But here, there is an entire montage before that bit. Like, as soon as they eat those lotus flowers, they go on their little movie acid trip, where they're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. And then we get, in peak 2010s fashion, a casino montage to Lady Gaga's Poker Face. Get it? Because it's like poker. Again, they play in a casino. Because they're in a casino gang. God, aren't these filmmakers clever? I think so.
I think it's also an example of how this is just like a poor adaptation of a book in general. Because like you can get away with the vintage clothes twist in prose because you just don't describe the characters wearing those clothes until it becomes relevant. But if you're doing like the
Hmm.
exact same thing in a movie without changing any of it, then you have to just have them not notice any have no You just have to have them not run into anybody with those kind of clothes until the story decides, okay, it's time for them to meet the dude from the 70s. And I
And
think
that's
that,
exactly what happens.
yeah, it just
The
betrays,
fireworks fade
like,
off on Percy, and he has like a little, oh, where am I moment. So he wanders into an arcade, and they put some interesting arcade games there. They put in Ms. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, and The French Connection, which he sees some guy playing. And then Percy's like, oh, wow, that film's great. I saw it on DVD. And the guy next to him goes, what's a DVD? This doesn't tip Percy off that something's wrong. So he goes, oh, he just shrugs it off, I guess. And then the guys go, oh, it's a great film, film of the year. And then Percy's like, what are you talking about? And then the guy goes, this year, 1971. Like it's the end of a Twilight Zone episode. You can basically hear the ellipses between each word. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, okay.
They. Why
Also,
was
Grover
it?
gets a harem.
Grover
He lo-
gets. Okay, we got to talk
Grover
about
gets a
Grover
lot
real
of.
fast.
Yeah, let's talk about Grover.
This movie is racist.
it's very racist.
Yeah, I know I talked about the Medusa scene being less racist, but only in that one capacity.
Okay, and that also
The
happened because
one.
they did a racist thing, and it just happened to turn out with net less racism, just because the book was kind of weird.
So
Yeah,
okay, basically, like in okay, I don't I don't think Grover has like a described like race in the books, does he? But
Yeah.
I think there's not like a problem with like they cast a black actor. That's not a problem.
Hmm.
But the problem is that they're like, okay, we've got, and I don't know if it was like, I don't know when this decision came, but either way down the road it made it bad, whether it was after casting or before casting or what. Uh they were like, okay, we're gonna change Grover's character. He's not a meek guy anymore. He's not like a kind of a bullied kid who is like watching out for Percy, even though like Percy's actually watching out for him. He's actually watching out for all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
He's like, he's he's just the stereotype of like a black best friend. They they just decided like he's gonna tell quirky jokes and he's gonna be horny and he's gonna like be I don't it's he my tongue.
to have the one black. I was going to say main character, the only black character really, except for one of the gods at Olympus at the end, to be one, literally inhuman, two, the comic relief, and three, be weirdly sexualized throughout the whole thing. That's a trio of bads there, my friends. That's really yikes. Sorry, it just is.
Thanks, Chris.
We should say that this wasn't written by Chris Columbus. This was written by Craig Titley.
Craig Titley.
Craig Titley, of course, well known for
I'm sure he
writing.
does.
Craig Titley, well known for writing. Let me see here. Oh, part of helping write the story with James Gunn of Scooby Doo 2002.
What
Oh,
the shit?
you know
I didn't
what?
know
That tracks. That
I didn't know
tracks.
James Gunn worked on that movie, but that makes sense.
Didn't you? No, I think that
No,
was like his first writing stroke directing thing, yeah.
well, good for you, James.
Yeah. And to Chris Columbus, I'm sorry for slandering you there. Please write the Five Nights at Freddy's movie well.
To Chris
Don't think he's
Columbus.
writing that one either.
Directing it, sorry.
To Chris Columbus.
And to Christopher Columbus.
You
To Christopher Columbus.
you didn't
Burn in
write this
hell.
shit, but you did approve it, so it's still on you.
Yeah, that's the gist of it.
Also,
You weren't behind the wheel, but you were giving directions. No, other way around? Fuck it.
He's a director,
can we
so
talk
pick
also?
one.
Okay, we've got to talk. There's too much to talk about in this movie. Why this movie is like race? It's misogynistic. All there's like there's two female characters. There's three female characters. There's
Cup
They just
runneth
keep
over.
racking up.
so there's Sally.
You have, yeah.
There's
Sorry,
Annabeth, and there's Persephone.
Don't forget about
Sally
Auntie Em.
is Okay.
who isn't a character really. She
And
exists. She's an
Dantian.
obstacle.
The three, they are like the three characters that they are is like, okay, they're gonna be sexy. That's Annabeth and Medusa and I guess Persephone.
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
uh they're gonna be
Mom, basically.
mom. They're
Self-sacrifice,
gonna be
endlessly
mom.
self-sacrificing mother figure.
Or
Yeah.
Inhuman Monster.
Or in a human monster. Uh
Who
and they're
again
all
gets the
like
line, gets the stellar line from my notes. Give me just a
I
second.
used to date your daddy.
everyone
I I used I used to date your daddy.
I used to date your daddy.
Jesus. Why is this movie weirdly horny?
It's so all the women especially are so sexualized. Even Sally to an extent.
She
Like,
should.
Oh yeah, in like her first scene she gets her ass smacked.
And then
yeah,
Gabe is like, hey, Percy, your mum is servicing me and my friends.
yeah,
Oh, he
they do
says that,
like the
doesn't he?
weird,
He says that.
yeah, and like, okay, it's I hate. Okay, I guess here's where we go into full. I hate the changes they made territory.
Okay.
I hate what they did to Grover. And I hate what they did to Percy for taking away all of his character. But I hate the most what they did to Annabeth.
Mm-hmm.
Annabeth's characterization begins when we see her fighting and ends when she finishes fighting Percy for the first time. In that, at the start, she hates his guts, and at the end of that scene, she goes, and I quote, I'm getting a lot of detail, getting a lot of mileage out of these quotes. She
Uh huh.
says, and I quote, I definitely have strong feelings for you.
That's the same scene, or not the same scene, but it's like two scenes apart.
Yeah,
They
basically. And that's how long her character arc is. She goes from hating Percy to having nondescript, strong feelings for him. Even when
and then
she
she
meets her
doesn't
mother, who
change.
she talks about her angst about not knowing and having never met her, when she finally gets to see her, she just goes, Hi, Mom. And
Mom.
Athena just goes, Hello. And that's it, resolved. Feeling all better now. Way.
It's Annabeth isn't like a smart person in this movie. She doesn't come up with any cool plans. She she just she's nothing.
She's very
She,
violent. And
she kind of, but it's just like she does fighting. Kind of.
How little effort would it have been to just say, hey, she wants to be an architect. There is slightly more to her than just girl who fights. That's the bare minimum.
The bare
and
minimum, and
yet
they don't meet it. And
the
there's
bar was on
this
the floor and they tunneled under it.
I can't
He
talk about
does.
this
And he
movie.
bleeds.
This sucks.
I have a few more points if we need material. Because again, I took far
Uh,
too many notes on this film.
I think my last big point is that it doesn't make any sense to age them up.
Were they aged
No,
up?
but but people whined when Jake Lloyd was bad in the Star Wars prequels, so child actors are impossible.
Oh no,
Yes,
you're probably right. That probably is
they
why.
were they were aged up. The characters in the book were like 12. The characters in the movie are like 17.
Wait, no, this isn't a post Harry Potter world. People love little mini Daniel Radcliffe, and that was after Phantom Menace.
Yeah, but they're not sexy.
Ugh.
Yeah, if I want to be really cynical and also correct, it is just so they can have Persephone say such amazing lines as, I've never had a satyr visit before. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Smack.
Yeah, if it was 12-year-olds playing the characters, it wouldn't, or like even just 12-year-old characters in general, it wouldn't be like sexy Annabeth or like sexy Percy kind of, or any of that. But so they age them up so that they can be weirdos.
And
They
I
they aged them up.
objectified and. Ugh.
They aged them up enough that they could be like, haha, we can do sexy camera shots without it being like weird and pedophilic because they're kids. But also, they didn't age them up enough
But
that it's
it
not
aged them up
creepy.
not enough that it still feels awful. It still
yeah,
feels
because they're
bad.
still kids.
Mm-hmm.
They are framed as such. They speak as such.
They try to, at
It's
any
a
rate.
bad time. I want to go back to what Jane was saying for a second about padding, because they changed this film structure from the book significantly. Because, again, no, not spoilers for the books. Read the books, watch the films, eat the lozenge. There. But
Only do one of those
in
things.
the books, it's lozenge. But in the book, it's almost like a mystery of like who stole the bolts. And they go through like the suspects, and they're like, "Oh, it must have been Hades with invisibility helmets, but it wasn't Annabeth because Luke said so." And they go on a little quest, they go down to the underworld, and it's like, "Hades, where's the bolt?" And he's like, "Hmm." But in the film, they kind of forget the bolts because when Percy gets to Camp Half-Blood, everyone's like, "Oh no, you're the lightning thief." And then Hades makes the campfire explode, and he's like, "Oh, Percy, I'll give you back your mum if you bring me the lightning bolts." And that's the reason he's trying to get to the underworld, so he can tell him he doesn't have the lightning bolts, which is questionable on its own. But then, for their escape plan from the underworld, they want to get Stephanie's pearls. So instead of it being like a little mystery thing and it being like, comprehensive, like why they go from one place to another, Luke gives them a map, and it's like, do this fetch quest, go to these 3 objectives, beat the boss in each of them, go to hell, and then go to Hades.
And I think that what they should have done is just go full in and make this a road trip movie.
Absolutely.
Yes. And they took out a lot of scenes that would have really contributed to that. Like, they took out the fight on the bus, which when I saw the bus for the first time, I was like, oh, it's going to be this scene, which just doesn't happen. They take out Ares, who, like, he's the war guy. Why didn't they bring him in?
I'm okay with them cutting Ares. It doesn't feel necessary because he feels largely like he needs to be there because of Kronos reasons.
Yeah,
And
I'll give you
like
that, actually. And then they remove the thing for the water park where they get the shield from. But then they added in the Parthenon bit with the Hydra, which yes does give payoff to Medusa's heads, which they keep instead of mailing to Mount Olympus, which I guess makes more sense in this kind of film because it's like it's a MacGuffin. It's like the flying sneakers. It's like the shield. But at the same time, it feels when they mail it to Mount Olympus, you sort of get that. I don't want to say edge because that's got like negative connotations, but it does feel like that. It feels like these are some like angsty teens who are like mailing a severed head to their parents. It's like that's interesting. It gives them more character rather than just a severed head. Let's hang on to it. Oh, it's the Hydra. Bzzzt, you're dead now. It doesn't feel as clever. It just feels like it's taken the most obvious choice possible. I think that's the problem with a lot of the movie.
I feel like also we're an hour into recording, so it's kind of late for this. But we do need to add, I think, just a permanent caveat, which is like, when we say they cut out this bit from the book, we have to just kind of mentally add the bit, and they didn't add anything interesting in the space they made with it.
I am completely in favor all the time of just making things less, chopping things up, putting them remove things entirely. You have to still have a coherent narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie did not have basically we learn it had bare bones. We meet Luke. We learn that he has a bad relationship with his dad. At end of movie, we see Luke again. He says, "I was the villain, and because I have a bad relationship with my dad."
Is Luke dead now? He goes splosh. He gets a trident around the neck that sends him splosh right into the ocean.
That shot is so funny.
Because Percy's like, "I'm the son of Poseidon," which isn't a meaningful line because he hasn't had like a struggle with his identity or anything like that through the movie.
Yeah.
And he pulls out like a water trident and he just chucks it at Luke and it catches him by the throat and like looks like it should be like impaling him and like carries him straight into the ocean.
He flies about a mile and then hits the ocean. I actually really love that they kept one element of the book really consistent, which is that at first it seemed like they stripped out Chiron's really like weird crypto-fascist tendencies and just turned it into
yes, they don't talk about the Heart of the West or Age of Gold, Age of West.
Yeah, exactly.
Any of that, no.
And I was really happy about this decision, but then in a shocking show of loyalty to the book, at the end they come around and basically turn him into like this universe's Dumbledore, and in so doing have come full circle and made him a weird fascist again. So bravo, Chris Columbus, I really appreciate that.
Thank you for spoiling this.
Oh. Oh,
Good things.
I do have one final note, which is appropriately at the very end of the film, the post-credit scene. So, in the book, Percy gets like a phone call or a letter from Sally, that's it. He gets like a message from Sally, and it's like, oh, I used the Medusa head on Gabe, I'm turned into a statue. I'm independent and freed from abuse. And I'm like, good for her. In the film, in the post-credit scene, Sally lets Gabe into the apartment because at this point she's kicked him out, and she's like, "Get all your stuff, move out by yourself. I'll leave you to it. Bye." And he's like, "Oh, I need a beer." So he goes to the fridge, and Percy's left a note on the fridge that says, "Do not open the fridge under any circumstances, or else." Signed Percy, and the fridge is locked. So Gabe takes a look at this, and he goes, I'm the king of this castle." And he grabs like a blender or something, I want to say, and uses it to smash the lock off the door. And he opens it, and surprise, Medusa's head's in there, and it goes like, "Wah!" And that's the end of the film. The rest of the credits roll. And one, it takes away so much energy. It takes away so much agency from Sally, and also, was it meant to be ambiguous whether that was like a trap for him or something? Because
It kind of reads that way,
again,
yeah.
I know in the books, Percy goes, "Please have this head that you can use on Gabe." And she's like, "Well, I won't use it on Gabe, I'll keep it just in case." And then eventually she does.
I mean,
But I don't think there's a scene in the film where they establish that he's taken the head home and it's in Sally's possession. So, like, one, when did this happen?
this is the Home
And
Alone guy, you need to
two,
remember.
oh no! It's all full circle.
Ring theory.
Oh, it's Harry Potter and Home Alone, which sounds cooler than it actually is.
It sounds awful.
Has anyone else got any other notes?
Yeah,
think
I
I'm done.
need to pay off something that I foreshadowed earlier in this episode, since we're on the subject of Sally, which is I really hate, like, there's a minor change, and I don't know why they made it, which is that in this movie, Sally has taken Gabe's surname, so she is Sally Ugliano.
Yeah.
And it's a point in the book that she lives with him and mostly deals with his shit, but one of her like quiet little fuck yous to him was that she kept her own surname, and it baffles me that they've changed that for no reason. It doesn't like play into like a different characterization for Sally or anything. It's just a mistake, I guess, that completely. Again,
It's just more lack of agency for her. It's
exactly
like taking away her murdering Gabe, which again is like girl boss. But like it was something for her to do. And I think in the book it's implied that she chose to marry Gabe again because of the human smell or whatever, which they touch on in the film. But like I think there's less emphasis on it being her choice.
Mm-hmm.
You just take away so much. I'm gonna say the A word again, agency from her, which makes her less of a character. She is just a damsel in distress. So much so that Percy's whole quest to return the bolts or go to Hades isn't, oh, let's solve the mystery of who stole the lightning bolt. It's I'm just going to save my mother, which like it sounds bad that I'm saying he shouldn't want to save his mother, but it's like that shouldn't be his that shouldn't be the main plot point in a story called The Lightning Thief. It should be solving the mystery of the lightning and how it was stolen.
They sure did completely
Not
restructure.
my mother is dead, except she isn't.
They should have completely restructure a completely usable and fine story to make it a damsel in distress thing.
They should have just not made this film like
because
this.
Percy didn't have enough of a character in this movie to like seem like he would compellingly actually go on a quest like to save the world, because we get why he would do that in the books. In the movie, he has to have like his mom dangle in front of him because Hades comes to the camp and explicitly says, "I've got your mom, come get her." And I think you can basically summarize this movie by saying they made like horrifically misplaced choices to just like cut out entire like swaths of themes, plot, characterization, and just like this is a bad movie.
I think the
Is
most
it?
This,
galling thing is that like they must have known they were doing it, because like you were just saying about Percy, because Percy in the books has that like really nice subtext about how he's sick of being bullied and he just views the god as like bigger bullies. And they know that they don't have that in the movie, so they just have to give him an explicit fetch quest.
And then they throw in
yeah,
the little bit at the end where he's like, "Oh, I know we talk about wrapping this up, but can we talk about Percy's final talk with Poseidon, his dad?"
yeah. Let's talk about it.
It's so good. I love that scene
Uh,
so much.
so the thing is, Percy, with great power comes great responsibility, and that's why I can't be your dad.
That's why I'm a Volcel.
But it's okay because I'll be here, right here, in your heart, but not there in person to keep you safe from all the terrifying monsters that are out for your blood. Bye, son.
Yeah.
I'm going to
See,
go
in the
back and hang out with
movie,
Sean Bean. Sean Bean's in this
it,
film, by the way.
he is in the movie. Instead of it being like, oh, Poseidon just kind of sucks as a dad. And the reason he can't visit Percy is because of the Big Three Pact. Um, that Percy shouldn't exist in the first place.
Hmm.
It's instead in the movie it's that there was a law that gods they can have kids but they can't interact with their kids, which makes no thematic sense. It doesn't make sense for the story that like
I
I
believe that is, and again, not to spoil future books at all, but I think that is a theme they touch upon later on. And considering this film came out after, I think most of the original five books were out, I think that's them just sort of folding it in. But still, for an adaptation of the first book, it doesn't really make sense as a theme to add because you're still dealing with all the other themes.
Okay, but I would like to present a riposte to that idea,
Ooh, please.
which is they were not thinking about anything in the future books. They thought, hey, this World War II plotline that Rick introduced is whack as fuck. We need to get rid of it and paper it over with
Oh,
anything else.
no.
And that's how we got to this.
Oh. Can I talk about
okay,
one line from the start? I keep dragging this on, sorry, gang. But
it's
there's one
okay.
Let's
line at
let's end on
the
this
beginning
one
of this
liner.
film which astounds me. So, back to the start of the film. Poseidon's come out of the ocean. Good for him. Gone to the Empire State Building, and at the top is Zeus. And Zeus is going, "What do you see, Poseidon?" And Poseidon's like, "Thunderclouds." And Zeus, again played by Sean Bean, goes, "But no lightning." And Poseidon thinks, "Oh, you're accusing me of stealing your powers." So he goes, "We are forbidden from stealing each other's powers." Which, first of all, that's a weird rule to specify. Like, you think theft between gods would be outlawed anyway. But then Sean Bean, as Zeus, refutes. "But our children aren't?" What? So,
I
even though they specify that gods cannot steal each other's powers, there's either a loophole or just a lack of law that specifies that you can't send your children to steal other gods' powers.
I feel like
Uh,
that makes more sense in the books where like the gods are treated as like they are like forces of nature to an extent. They are like powerful. Even looking at them in their human forms, you can tell that this is a god. Whereas in this movie, they're just
they're
dudes.
giant, borrowers-esque
So
human forms.
you can't just go, oh, they have weird primal rules that they must respect because they are fundamental aspects of the universe. They're just dudes.
Hmm. I think. Let me do one last scroll across my
Wait,
notes.
wait, but
Uh,
I just realized this is the thematic ending. The they strip away all of the like power and nuance and like impressiveness of the gods and just make them dudes, and that's what they did to the book in making this movie.
you know
and
what?
with
Yeah,
that I think we should wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I think
Uh,
we've said our piece.
let's finish off the compliment sandwich. We each have to say one more nice thing
Oh
about
my
it.
god, I forgot about that.
Otherwise, it's just like a weird piece of compliment toast.
This podcast has a story arc.
um, You know what? The design of Hades sucks as a design for like the Greek afterlife. If you just like took that and plopped it into like a movie about the Christian hell, it'd look alright.
Yeah. Uh, Rabbits?
Jacqueline, can you do yours first? I want to save mine till last.
I think you're very boldly assuming that Jacqueline has something nice to say.
I think that it's very impressive that I I think I think that it was impressive that they managed to make this almost 2 hours. I think it was so rabbits.
We could just delete this whole episode and just leave in us trying to ask you to say something nice about the movie, and you umming and ahhing for a good few minutes, and that's all we need to say about this.
Rabbits, say your thing.
My compliment is that Percy Jackson the Lightning Thief, released in 2010, only has one sequel.
All right, everyone. Do you want to plug your stuff one last time for us?
The stuff that I have, yes. You can follow me on Twitter at undeadrabbits_YT on Twitter for updates on what I'm working on. And you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Undead Rabbits, for upcoming horror analysis content. I was going to say thanks you two for letting me on the show. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Anytime. If you'd like to reach the show, you can drop us an email at unwisegirlspod@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at unwisegirls, where we also have a link to our official Discord server. If you like us, you can support us by continuing to download our episodes, maybe leaving a nice rating and review for the algorithms, and checking out our Patreon. For $1 a month, you get a special role on our Discord ranking you as a camp counselor. For $3 a month, you get an even specialer role as a friend of Dionysus and access to all of our bonus content. If you're last week on our bonus episode, we talked about Sonic the Hedgehog. We talked about sci-fi things we like.
Yeah.
We talked about Yu Yu Hakusho. If you're feeling especially generous, for $5, you get the specialist role of Aphrodite's Chosen. All of our bonus content. And we'll also read your name at the end of it. We'll thank you at the end of our episodes. Jane, who we got to thank today?
So our $5
Basic
patrons, who we love very much, thank you for supporting us. Erica, Mercy, and Veronica, friend.
Aww. Friend. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And as we always say, at the end of every episode,
Camp Half-Blood. It's like high school without the musical.
See you next week, Camp Half-Blood.
Mercy and Veronica, friend.
Aww. Friend. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And as we always say, at the end of every episode,
Camp Half-Blood. It's like high school without the musical.
See you next week, Camp Half-Blood.